Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto, and this is the B Block, or second section of our weekly news show. We usually have our international roundup for you, but most of our reporters are off this week. There is, however, one international story to tell you about. You might be aware of how Thailand has totally screwed up their legalization rollout that was introduced in 2022. In the beginning, that government sent out seedlings and plants to all of its citizens. And now, with a new government in place, they have recriminalized cannabis. Over the past month, Thai regulators inspected over 5,200 of the over 18,000 establishments that were operational. The results from this crackdown were pretty alarming. 724 licenses were suspended, 129 licenses revoked. Over 1,000 businesses were closed, and 33 citizens were arrested for smuggling cannabis out of the country. Thailand's experience is the polar opposite of Canada, where a report was released this week concluding that 8 of 10 cannabis purchases are from legal licensed dispensaries. Our lone international report comes out of Canada this week with Debbie Facey.
This is Debbie Facey with the Canadian Coast to Coast Cannabis News Report. So we have upcoming this week, or I still want to say next week, is the Dab Masters event, which is on August 23rd, 2025 here in Toronto, Ontario, where it is going to be good times, great hash times, but it's going to be an event where not only golf is involved, but some awesome concentrates and some awesome friends. So look out for that, especially for the footage, and me there. Next, what we have is Lake and Bake, which is going to be August 24th, located in Toronto, Ontario, which is also a interactive event. It's going to be 3 hours on land where you're able to meet and greet with most of the brands that are going to be coming on board of the yacht. And then following that is going to be a 4-hour ride throughout the Toronto, I want to say, our harbor, to enjoy some nice high fun. This is also going to be an event that I'm going to be covering, so please make sure that you stay tuned and excited for that. But when it comes to any news, what we have is Uxley and Organigram making their mark when it comes to their domestic moves. And when it comes to MediFarms, they have also been strategically placing themselves in the U.S. market, so they're able to expand that well. This is Debbie Facey with the Canadian Coast to Coast Cannabis News Report. Peace.
One more news item out of Canada. THC-infused beverage company High Tide has purchased a 51% stake in Remexian Pharma, a German company that is headquartered outside of Berlin. That pharmaceutical company is a leading importer of medical cannabis into Germany, and they are licensed to import other medicinal cannabis products into that country as well. Germany is responsible for 33% of all cannabis exported from Canada. Now, let's go to Illinois to hear from Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy. This is Bird, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Thanks for tuning in. Lots going on as always. The state is actually in the process, August 11th with the opening date, the state is giving out loans, forgivable loans to cannabis grows, cannabis infusions, dispensaries, some existing. So $40 million they're distributing, to all these different individuals. They're starting with the social equity owners first. There is a limit on what they get, so who knows how much it really helped. But on a side note, they just are giving out $40 million, but they had $50 million set aside from taxes of marijuana sales for this type of situation that is literally gone. 50 million disappeared that was supposed to be for the social equity, supposed to be helping for loans and whatnot. It's gone. I don't know who the accountant is for the state and the people that are doing this stuff, but I need to hire them because I need some help. But that's just a little side note. In other news, Forefront Ventures is selling at least 3 of their retail dispensary locations throughout southern Chicago, Cook County. So they're having financial problems. They actually went into receivership in May. What that means, simply put, is that somebody came in and an independent company came in, or independent person came in and took the company over from the lead guy, so to try to fix things. But they are selling at least 3 dispos, and forgot to mention they're selling a huge craft or commercial grow facility. So they're having some issues, but I hope they can figure it out. But either way, if you're looking for to grow your own commercially licensed cannabis in Illinois, hit up Forefront Ventures. They got for sale. It's probably only $5 or $10 million. So that's it. But anyways, I am Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
California and Florida are huge operators in the cannabis space, and yet both are having issues with packaging that attracts kids to their products. Florida is holding workshops to study this development, and of course, THC-infused edibles are the targets. You would think that this would be an easy fix if regulators would just ban any or all images on these products, but lawmakers would rather ban the products than regulate their distribution. In the meantime, many multi-state operators are trying to survive by cutting losses and leaving states where they were dominant. One of the multi-state operators who has fallen on hard times is Ayr Wellness. Now they are closing more operations in Virginia, and Joe Parsons has that story.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection by Higher Education's Coffee Talk, sponsored by 97.5 3WB and reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Once again, Health Service Area 1 has been left without any provider, and what's worse, no indication of when one might be announced in the future. HSA 1 has been the most ignored in the Commonwealth since 2020, when the medical market was first announced. PharmaCann was the first provider awarded to cover the area, but they couldn't get their operations and permits in order, so they had their license revoked. A legal battle then ensued for years, and the patients of Charlottesville and many other parts of Central Virginia were the real victims. Then, last year in September, I was happy to report that Ayr Wellness from Florida won the super expensive conditional license, and finally, operations in 6 new dispensaries were going to be opened in the region. Ayr reps told me they would keep me informed, but as the year went by, they grew silent. Well, as reported last week by Dina Nagib, Ayr Wellness is now selling assets in 6 states and is decreasing, or more like eliminating, the bulk of the company. And wouldn't you know it, they sold off the assets they had in Virginia too. Meaning, HSA 1 is now left in the dark, and now the VCCA will have to start the entire process of finding another MSO completely from scratch. Ayr Wellness paid over $13,000, and in total, the Commonwealth took in over $700,000 for the process. So I'm sure the VCCA doesn't mind. However, the patients that have no close access to the plant medicine will have to wait even longer. Not to mention that it leaves the legacy black market open to reign supreme once again in Central Virginia. I do a deeper dive on this story, and Seth let me rant this week about Smart Approach to Marijuana, or SAM, on this week's Coffee Talk. Tune in to www.3wb.com to check it out. It was a lot of fun to do a rant episode, so don't miss it. Well, that's going to do it from this week's Higher Education's Coffee Talk, sponsored by 97.5 3WB in Charlottesville, and reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, stay lifted.
I'm Christina Brisson with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Clutch is opening its 5th Ohio location in Northfield Village to open on August 21st. The Stargazer Cannabis Festival in its second year did not have the success it was looking for. They've had multiple vendors cited multiple concerns about safety and other issues among the festival. However, organizer Chad Thompson has insisted he will continue the festival and make it better for the next year. Additionally, Dayton, Ohio has reported on Trump's intent to reclassify cannabis at the federal level. And while it may not make things legal, it could possibly offer additional banking and tax benefits to cannabis businesses. I am Christina Brisson with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
One more note from California. The farm in California that was raided by ICE a month ago is preparing for huge losses now that their workforce has been attacked and detained. Glasshouse Farms continue to cooperate with authorities to create more extensive background checks on their employees. And now they are preparing for major losses, which is just part of the fallout from that ugly incident that saw hundreds arrested and one worker die. Next up, Dina Nagib in Nevada, and with the Tribal Nations report.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Ovation Science, a company with offices in Vancouver, Canada, and Las Vegas, has expanded its license agreement with Planet 13, a vertically integrated cannabis company based in Las Vegas, to bring Ovation's science-backed InvisiCare topical and transdermal cannabis products into Florida. Under the new deal, Planet 13 will distribute these products across its 33 dispensaries in Florida, leveraging its powerful retail footprint in the largest U.S. medical cannabis market, projected to surpass $2.5 billion in sales in 2025. This marks a major milestone for Ovation, with Florida becoming its third active market after Nevada and Pennsylvania, and with more expansion planned into Missouri and Canada. Ovation's edge lies in its patented InvisiCare skin delivery system, backed by over 20 years of pharmaceutical research. Lab tests show its formulations deliver 82% cannabinoid penetration, compared to less than 2% for competing transdermal products. This means far more CBD, THC, and other cannabinoids reach the skin and beyond, providing consumers with maximum therapeutic benefits. That's it for the Nevada highlights and Tribal Nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Are you familiar with the beverage called an Arnold Palmer? Well, the late legendary golfer was a fan of mixing his lemonade with his iced tea. In another sign that the alcohol industry is slowly moving into the infused THC space, a California company called Uncle Arnie's just raised $7.5 million. One of the founders of the Boston Beer Company is Harry Rubin. He is on the board of directors for Uncle Arnie's, and he led the raise. Mindset Capital and Delta Emerald Ventures provided the capital. This investment will be used for expansion into more markets where the beverage will be available. Right now, Uncle Arnie's is in 16 markets and expanding into 3 more while increasing their workforce to support this growth. One state that might be an attractive target market for this product is the new adult use state of Minnesota. That's where Alicia Bellamy holds a micro license, and she has a report this week.
I'm Alicia Bellamy for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm also with the Minnesota Cannabis College and Herbs and Herbs. This is your Minnesota report. Governor Tim Walz announced that he's making Eric Taubel the interim executive director of the OCM, the permanent executive director of the OCM. He's been interim since January of 2025. We also have Albert Lee in the news again. Last week I reported that Jacob Schlaker was denied access to his dispensary by the city council of Albert Lee, but now they've let 2 other micros go forward. That is the Black Husky and Matchbox Farms. We also are looking forward to the Green Equity Summit that happens August 18th, 19th, and 20th, and that will have members of the OCM, capital raisers, and it will feature a storytelling symposium. Don't want to miss that. We also have the Doobie Dabbler coming September 5th. I am Alicia Bellamy with your Minnesota Cannabis Coast to Coast report.
There will be a new reason to attend MJBizCon in Las Vegas this December. That huge convention continues to expand and diversify its attractions, and now will welcome a coast-to-coast competition called the MJ Bowl. One of the most respected professional review platforms is the Buddhist. They will be the group that will welcome competitors in their grow categories of best flower, indoor and outdoor, best pre-rolls, infused and non-infused, edibles, vapes, and concentrates round out the new competition. Emily Lewis is the driving force behind this coast-to-coast competition and explains the reason why they picked the Buddhist to be in charge of the judging. This is what they said. Buddhist is the respected, consumer-driven guide loved by cannabis enthusiasts. Together, we're uniting East and West in a contest that will raise the bar and set a new tradition for the industry. You can find out how to enter the competition on the MJBizCon website. Maybe our own enlightened voice, Christopher Bright, will be a judge. In the meantime, he's got our Maryland report this week.
I'm Christopher Bright from the Enlightened Voice. Welcome to Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'll be bringing you the latest cannabis headlines from Maryland. In Harford County, Maryland, over $554,000 in cannabis tax revenue is being distributed as grants to support community projects. The funds, part of Maryland's Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund, aim to benefit low-income, historically disadvantaged areas. Recipients include the Hope Center receiving $40,000 for community feeding programs, and Harford County Public Schools awarded $80,000 for a Boys to Men mentoring program at Joppa High and Magnolia Middle Schools. Other grants support initiatives like after-school STEM programs, job training, suicide prevention, and youth enrichment programs. County Executive Bob Cassidy says these investments focus on mentoring youth and building stronger, safer communities throughout restorative development. That's all that I have for this week's Maryland Cannabis Report. I'm Christopher Bright from the Enlightened Voice reporting for Coast to Coast News.
Now we turn to New Jersey, where social consumption lounges are finally open in Atlantic City. Of course, there is already some controversy about public consumption on the boardwalk. Law enforcement are already more visible, policing that area to discourage the public habit of firing up. The good news is that at least they aren't busting people for possession anymore. Jill Goldsberry has our Garden State Cannabis report this week.
The lounges in New Jersey are open. And in fact, Ginseng, which is located in Mercantville, just 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia, recently had their grand opening event on August 15th, this past Friday. They're now open Friday and Saturday from 12 noon to 9 p.m. and Sunday from noon to 5 p.m. And the dispensary plans to expand that to a work week, and we'll keep you posted on when that happens. So like I said, they just had their grand opening, inviting bud tenders and industry to come out and celebrate for their big grand opening right there in Mercantville, New Jersey. And as you said, the police are already on top of it. In Atlantic City, for example, they have vowed to crack down on anyone indulging in cannabis outside of lounges. So they're looking at people on the boardwalk because they've gotten so many complaints about it from people who are, very upset about the fact that there is outdoor smoking. So the police have handed out 22 summonses so far, and they're saying that this is apparently working because they're receiving far few calls in the last few weeks and far fewer complaints on the boardwalk. So note to anyone out there, if you are indulging in cannabis in Atlantic City, make sure that you are in a safe space. And in other news, just out of Atlantic City as well, NECAN, the conference is coming up. And if you are a women-owned brand or women-owned business in the cannabis industry, you'll want to be there for the Blunt Brunch programming, which is happening at NECAN on September 5th. And that is a Friday in the Women's Lounge. So hopefully we will see you there. I'm Jill Goldsberry with Coast to Coast Cannabis News with the New Jersey Report. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
And finally today, we get to salute one of our own. The woman in Cannabis Expo in Reno, Nevada this week held their competition for Best of Awards. There were quite a few categories, including Best Advocate, Best Entrepreneur, Best Role Model, Best Chef, Grower, and many others. We want to congratulate our Michigan correspondent, Amie Carter, for taking home the title of Best Canna Mom. Amie is a tireless advocate for moms everywhere who advocate for the rights of access to cannabis plant medicine for their children. Amie's now 18-year-old son, Jaden, is challenged by autism. For years, Amie has been trying to do the right thing by getting Jaden his medicine during the school day. But of course, by law, she has to sign him out of school, drive 1,000 feet away from the school to give him his medicine to keep his outbursts under control for the duration of the school day. It's hard to believe, but that is frowned on by many of the lawmakers who just don't understand the powerful benefits for kids who are stricken by cancer, Crohn's, and epilepsy. Moms have no choice but to advocate for their children to have the right to the medicine, not the vilified drug that many of our lawmakers categorize cannabis. They believe they need to protect by making it as difficult as possible for access to young people under the age of 21 who need the unique medicinal qualities of this plant. And this is why Amie continues to fight for Jaden's law that would allow school nurse practitioners to administer the medicine. There are 11 states that already allow this, and yet Michigan, a vibrant legal adult use state, still has not adopted that policy. On behalf of the entire Cannabis Coast to Coast news team, we congratulate Amie for her dedication to the cause and to her family.
I'm Dina Nagib with Grass Goddess Consulting, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I have a special report today. I'm here at the Women in Cannabis Expo with Brooke Westlake. Can you talk a little bit about what we're here doing today?
Yeah, so this is our 6th show. We are just fulfilling our mission of connection, inspiration, and learning for women in cannabis. People kind of wondered where I was for 2 years, and it wasn't because I wanted to take time off. I landed on a TV show and then had a car accident, and so I had a little bit of recovery. But we put a board together, and they were like, let's do this. Like, we're ready to go. We found a permanent home. So we're bringing women together. We have a schedule that's amazing with 12 panel discussions, so 6 each day, and 6 speakers, 12 total, 6 each day. So we are just connecting, inspiring each other, and learning together.
It's been amazing. It's really been jam-packed with so many women from different aspects of the industry that are sharing so many different things. This is my first time coming to this event, but I know, Brooke, you have big plans for the future as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so definitely next year, because people have been waiting, like, where did she go? Brooke puts together such a great show. So we already have our dates for next year, and I can say what they are because this is going to come out after I announced tonight. So the 19th and 20th of August, 2026, we'll be back here at the Convention Center here in Reno. They said, we welcome you with open arms, and as a lot of us know in this industry, can be quite difficult. So to have a convention center say, yeah, like, bring the women down here, have your event, have your award ceremony. This year, we're giving out 67 awards. It's the largest amount that we've ever done. So I can only imagine what that's going to look like next year. I imagine there's probably going to be an influx of probably 10 or 20 more with my board. And so we're just going to keep growing and glowing together.
That's amazing. And I just have to echo what you said about this convention center welcoming us, because they really just have been so generous. And, you know, we sometimes like to consume a little bit while we're here, and no issue at all. So it's really been a special place that you've created, and so glad that you've had this partnership.
Thank you. It's, all of us business owners know that it can be very difficult to be in the space. So when you find a company or a product or somebody willing to work with you, you really take that into consideration in everything that we do. And we want to be able to continue to do what we do. And we can't do that without having really great partnerships or companies or convention centers that we can work with so that we can grow more.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to say before we end?
I can't wait to release all the names of the winners for everything. That's going to be really exciting. And we will actually have our theme out for next year because I said the dates. We're going to have our theme probably decided in about a week and a half. So we are ready to go for 2026. So if you have FOMO, you missed out this year, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be there next year. You have 365 days right now. I don't want to hear excuses that you can't make it. You have 365 days to plan to come to be at Women in Cannabis Expo next year. Come connect, come inspire, come learn from all these amazing women. We're all learning together. I've been on this journey for now 6 years, and I love meeting women that have been in it longer. I love meeting the new women that are coming in, and ultimately my job is done if I've made meaningful connections for other people here.
Well, I've definitely met some amazing women, and I'm really excited that I got to spend the time here. And you may have just spitballed the potential theme for next year on stage. I think I heard something, but we will see. Well, I'm really excited to have the award show and see who all the winners are. I can't wait for that. That's still coming up. And before I close, I just want to shout out our cameraman who's filming us now.
Yes.
Brian Holler from the Beard Bros, one of the sponsors here for Women in Cannabis Expo, and one of the amazing allies and men that we have here with us. So
thank you so much. We appreciate your company. We appreciate you and everything that you guys do. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke. And I'm Dina Nagib with Grass Goddess Consulting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
That will do it for this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Consume it responsibly, and we will see you next week.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Pro Cannabis Media is now WPCM-TV, your go-to website for things cannabis. WPCM-TV is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news you need.
Amie Carter. This week, she reports from inside the State House in Lansing.
I'm Amie Carter from Michigan Weedsters with this week's Michigan report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
And talk shows about all things cannabis.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all you're doing to get the word out. Like, this show is so important.
It all started back in 2018 when Emmy award-winning talk show host Jimmy Young kicked it off with the In the Weeds podcast.
That it's not just any generic paper towel. You do have a brand that you use, right?
Yeah, we live or die by the bounty. I mean...
The quicker picker-upper! I love that!
His mission? Building an army of multimedia journalists and podcast hosts who are documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition in this country and around the world. Fast forward to today, and we've got the nation's only weekly cannabis coast-to-coast news program with Alaina Pinto.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News, WPCM-TV's weekly production of the fight to end cannabis prohibition in this country and around the world. I'm Alaina Pinto.
Delivering the nation's only TV news-style program. Since June 2021, WPCM-TV has racked up over 1.3 million views with 17 million impressions and picked up over 16,000 subscribers on YouTube alone. Now we even have our own app. For more information, contact the team at WPCMTV.com.